Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us on another episode here on Hbtv, the show. I'm your host, Harry Bugarin, and if this is your first time to join us here on Hbtv, do me that huge favor. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share, and hit that little bell so you'll be alerted every time Hbtv has either new content or when we go on live. And if you are a returning viewer, whether here live in the chat with us or watching later on, for the recorded episode, I do appreciate your time. Again, what do we do here at HBTV? We broadcast positive vibes, one episode at a time. Our goal here is to inspire, influence, educate, and empower. And I bring on guests in our local community, nationwide, across the borders, even globally, to share their message, their passion, and exactly what they do. And tonight's guest is no different. My good friend, Mr. Joshua Powell, will join us tonight. And, we're just going to go ahead and talk about his passion, which is chess, the game of chess. And so, without further ado, help me welcome Mr. Joshua Powell. Josh, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Mr. B. Yes, I can. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh, awesome, man. Thank you for taking the time. I do appreciate it. Again, Josh is one of my good friends. I had the opportunity to get to know him over 3 years now, right? We've been working together for 3 years, and
into 17.
Right.
Although at that time you were big time, and I was just a just a drone. I hardly got a chance to interact with you. I try to approach, and security would hustle me away.
Touche. But yeah. So, anyways, I got Josh here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the game of chess. Also, it is his passion. This is what he loves to do, and it's great to bring on guests who do have that passion, that type of passion, and would love to share their message. But Josh, really quick, just tell the audience, who you are and what do you do, and exactly, how involved with you are you with the game of chess?
Of course, right now, not as involved as I have been. What with the situation, one of the side effects of that people don't think about is just casual social groups get disrupted as well, and chess is certainly one of those. I got started playing over 30 years ago now. Man, I'm old. It was back in 8th or 9th grade.
Yeah.
You might remember back in the day there was a program in the public schools called Drop Everything and Read. I don't know if you did that. And the idea was just that at some point over the course of the day, they would schedule in time, like a little mini period, 15 or 20 minutes, to try and get the kids to, read a book, any book. It was kind of like homeroom in the middle of the day. But of course, I had my face in a book anyway, so it hardly mattered. While the teacher, who was running my little group, brought in some books for us to choose from, and one of them was called Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. And that is one of the most popular chess books of all time, or at least in America, because it got brought out, of course, on the way in the era when Fischer was making his charge on the world championship. He's probably the only chess player the average American can even name, because he's the only guy who made it to the top of the hill. It's like, can you name a pro bike racer? Well, probably not. But then there's Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, Greg LeMond, I guess, would be the next. But funny you say that. Funny you say about the drop everything and read a book. I probably it probably went in one ear and out the other. I dropped everything and did not read that book for 15 minutes. I'm not even gonna lie. It was probably, I remember Dare. Was it Dare? Was that Nancy
yeah, right.
Reagan?
Yeah.
What year was that Bobby Fischer for a book for you?
That was well, I mean, the book was published in the 70s. I started looking at it. It must have been around 86, 87.
I see. So like junior high, 7th grade or 6th grade or something like that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I remember the little programs like that, but like I said, I dropped everything and did not read that book.
Dropped.
So you read.
You're like, what was that? Drop out?
Drop out? Like, what the hell's going on? But you read the Bobby Fischer book. I'm assuming this is before the movie even came out, because that was like later on, like 89, 90, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. That Searching for Bobby Fischer flick. Everybody remembers that one. That was, chess movies and things like that come out every so often. There, of course, the big one right now, just a few months ago, was Queen's Gambit, right? Leading everything on Netflix. But that Searching for Bobby Fischer movie was back in the 90s, and by that time I knew who he was. But when I was reading the book, of course, I had no idea. I had always kind of wanted to learn chess in the background. It seemed like one of the cool games, like intellectual type things, like, here I am playing chess. Whenever you're watching like a play or a movie or something, even a comic book, and they're trying to show some characters like a hardcore mastermind, usually, they'll have like a chessboard in front of them, and so I was like, yeah, man, I want that to be me. It's funny looking at it now, though, because oftentimes the people talking about it or drawing the board, they only have like the vaguest idea of what is going on. So it's like, the pieces, they'll just throw them on there in some random way. But it's like, that doesn't, I'm just happy if they make the board like 8 by 8. I'm like, come on, man. Everybody's played checkers, right? You know.
That's kind of funny. Now, as far as going back, you're in junior high, I guess, during that homeroom time, or whenever they're making you drop everything. You read that book, you finally get it, and it's, I guess it sparked something in you, right? Like, what was it about that book that you said, hey, initially, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I want to pull it out, and I don't know about you, like in my elementary and mostly in the elementary, rainy day schedule, we had the old maybe it was a Milton Bradley chess set.
Yeah,
and they were like big plastic ones, and you got to bring it over to your seat. It's all rattling and stuff like that. Yeah. It was just so big, but
usually with a piece or two missing, of course.
Exactly. Put an eraser as a pawn, but like, you read that book, so like, what was it about that book, or something that inspired you to even say, hey, you know what, I want to get into this as a junior high school student?
That's a good question. I can't really say. The format was pretty good for a kid at that age. There's a whole lot of chess books actually on the market. I was talking to my friend. I guess I'll mention him later. He's an international master. I was doing some training with him. He lives across town in Beverly, and apparently, like, for the nonfiction books, like in the Library of Congress, chess is like the leading thing, because people just crank out, what are you going to do, against this variation of the French defense, and and there's just like a tremendous volume of them, but mostly they're kind of like text, they're like textbooks. And Fisher's thing was, it was just a selection of problems, basically. Like, each page, instead of a whole bunch of wordiness, they would like print out a chessboard with the position and say, white is supposed to do something crushing here. What is it? And you just, so you could like follow the book and figure it out without having a chessboard, which was helpful, and without having to kind of get the whole thing. It's like daunting to play a 30, 40, 50 move game of chess. But if it's just like a problem, like, what is the right move here, right? Do this, do that, bam, checkmate. Or maybe you're just up a piece or something. That's a good way, I think, the format for kids to learn.
Nice. And is that pretty much the format that, initially that you started studying chess and getting that type of formal education, I guess?
Yeah, well, I mean, after I finished that book, I mainly just went to playing. At that age, I wasn't into studying it very much. There were a few other kids at the school. We didn't have, like, like a chess club per se.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot of schools do as one of their, after school activities, especially these days. It's getting to be a lot more popular at the youth level again, because there's been a big push, saying that participation in chess helps with academics stuff and problem solving and discipline and just patience and things like that. So there's a big chess in the schools push going, but at that time there wasn't much going on, and so it was just me and a few other kids who were kind of unofficially into it, and we would play chess during that drop everything and read program,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of lured in the other kids who didn't feel like reading, but they were down to play a board game, like any board game. I'm sure they would have been, like Monopoly or something.
Mousetrap. I'm a mousetrap guy.
Candyland.
Yes, shoots and ladders, bro. But I would honestly, I would be that kid coming up to the to y'all table and say, "Hey, man, what's going on here with Josh and and Xavier or whoever you're playing, during that time." So no, that's pretty interesting.
That's the way it was. And the nice thing is that because the teacher was into it as well, because it was his book. And so the thing about playing chess as a kid is it's one of the few things you can at least potentially take on an adult as an equal. You know what I mean? It's I mean, beating your peers is one thing, that's cool and everything, but if you're beating the teachers, that's all right.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And did you go against the teacher at all during that time there?
Yeah, man. We used to have our little struggles together, and it was pretty even after a while. After I figured out what I was as most people. There's probably, I don't know how to estimate, maybe 10% know how to play, basically. Everybody's heard of it, but as far as actually like knowing how the pieces move without having to stop and think about it, and that you can promote the pawn to a queen if it gets the end of the board, that's maybe 10% of people. But even of that 10%, there's not really who take it seriously. It's kind of like Scrabble or something. Everybody knows about Scrabble, and pretty much everybody has played it at one time or another, but there's like a hardcore circle, who do like tournaments and everything, just like chess, and not everybody's in there. So he was he was just a casual player. He got caught up in the Fisher boom in the 70s. That was what the US Chess Federation is what they call it, if you want to get like a rating and everything and a standing. And it like tripled, quadrupled while he was the champ. And then he kind of rolled out. He did his American loner vanish off the face of the earth thing, and it kind of settled back down. And a lot of people didn't stick with it. And he's one of those dudes. My dad was the same way. Fortunately, I was able to play with my dad at home, so that kept me going as well. He got into it in the 70s, and he was conversant with it, but it's not like he had been studying it. So I got to interact with some adults in my life and actually have a chance against them, because if they had been like into the game, like not fooling around, I would have gotten smoked the first couple of years, whereas I was able to get almost on a par with them pretty quickly.
Again, you guys are watching Hbtv, the show, with my guest tonight is actually Joshua Powell, and we're just talking about his passion, the game of chess. Now, you talk about, basically, I don't know, maybe 10% of the people out there really know casually how to play the game of chess. I would say that I'm right below the casual player. I'm probably a 5-trick pony. I get those guys out, and then it's basic moves like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do here? What is he doing there? But I mean, there's some people who are able, I guess, look at different moves, or look at the move and then calculate or see what from different angles, I guess, at different moves, like 5 steps ahead. I probably can do 1 or 2. And I guess that's where they get he or she is out there playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. You hear that a lot.
You do hear that,
sports,
yeah,
right? And the thing is, we hear it, However, we kind of know what it is, but we really don't know what that is, because we haven't experienced
Yeah,
actually
right.
playing the game of chess. So,
Yeah.
you know, take us through that a little bit, because that expression, I think, really means a lot, and it's really like a lot. It's undervalued to us. I mean, maybe people just throw it around. We don't, people don't care or not that serious. But for you and for people out there in that circle, like what does that really entail as far as like, you are playing that chess, you are playing chess out there, not checkers. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. It gets deeper and deeper the farther you go. I think you're selling yourself short a little bit. You have some idea of what's going on. We played a few games together at work, and you were hanging in there, man, on that little portable board.
I loved
In
it.
fact, we had to abandon the one
Yeah.
game because the plague swept the nation. So we'll call that one a
Yes.
draw.
Yes.
But yeah, the thing is, when you first start playing chess, it's just about kind of taking pieces. One of the first things that people learn after they know how the pieces move is like how much they're worth. Like everybody's like, they pretty much know, if they know chess at all, if they can get the queen, they're in business. That's a nice score, especially if they can get it, with like a pawn or something like that. But as you play more and more, people stop kind of hanging their pieces out there just to get taken. And so that's where the planning thing comes in, because it's like the piece is covered by a couple of different things. Like if you take it, you're going to get taken back. And so then you got to start thinking about the order of the moves. Like if I take this over here, that's going to divert one of the defenders, and then I can come back to my main point over here, and that's when it gets like crazy. But
Well,
that's just,
I mean, no, I'm laughing about it because you're saying, people are less hesitant, or they are about dangling out,
yeah,
one of your pieces. But there, in my game, there is no dangling, bro. It's just like, dude, it's he got eaten. Damn, I gotta figure out how to get back.
Yeah,
And it's right. It's like you want, like, everybody thinks, or I think is like, I'm gonna get that
yeah,
queen out of there, and
yeah.
then they're defenseless. But I'm assuming that there's strategy and technique about, okay, take my queen, but I'm still going to get you. I am able
That's
to get you
absolutely
even with
right.
that.
Yeah, because I mean, the piece value thing is important, but it's not like you add up the pieces at the end of the game. It's not like you're collecting chips. Or it's not like Go, where it's how much territory, how many stones do you have. I mean, the bottom line is, did you checkmate the other dude? So if there's some situation where you can hang your queen out there and let it get taken, but it allows you to get the king, then that's great. In fact, the games where people are just giving away all of their stuff with like a single focus devotion, so that you can deliver checkmate with like the last piece that you've got left, those are the ones that are like admired, and that people are still studying like centuries later. If you understand chess, those are the games that are flashy, not like slowly kind of getting an extra pawn here or an extra knight there.
And just really quick, I mean, I guess we can Google this stuff. And chess originally from India or China with Go.
Yeah, that's what they think. It's pretty much. I mean, it's so long ago. The records are a little sketchy, but there
Mm.
was a game played in India called Shatranj. And it was chess like. It was played on a grid like board like that, and they had the different pieces with the different moves. At that time, they didn't color the squares opposite colors, so it was a little bit visually kind of difficult to see what you were doing. But it was basically a war simulation again. Like instead of rooks, they had elephants and things like that. And Shah Mat, the king is dead, eventually got turned into checkmate. And there have been rules changes and things like that since then. The queen didn't used to be as powerful as she is, there were some issues with that to begin with because of the historical, the sexism of the
Sure.
time. They're like, it's a little bit
Wow.
weird having the queen just totally outstrip the king. And then I guess also I looked a little bit into the history of it. They if you get the pawn all the way to the edge of the board, you can turn it into whatever piece you want, which is almost always a queen, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like the one that can do the damage. But that also was an issue. They liked the idea of promotion, like sort of like reaching the end of your life and ascending to a higher state. That was religiously okay. But the assumed gender change of like a pawn, cruising out there and suddenly becoming a queen, that made some medieval theologians, that was
Wow.
Caitlyn Jenner a few centuries ahead of her time, and they were like, whoa, I don't know about
Really?
that.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
so in theory, for a
wow.
while, if your pawn pushed it to the edge of the board, it became a vizier, the attendant to the king, who just so happened to be able to move exactly like the queen, but was not a queen. Don't get it twisted. Everybody just settle down.
Wow. But
Yeah,
when you talk about social issues, right? The
yeah,
game of chess on that board and having it transform or over the years to make it, hey, the queen, this is what it's going to be, and everybody has accepted that, and that's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't really think about that. That's awesome. Again, everybody, you guys are watching HBTV, the show. I'm your host, Harry Bugarin, and my special guest tonight is Joshua Powell. We're just talking about chess, his journey, his passion. Josh, where did you grow up again?
I grew up in San Diego. Actually, this was Drop Everything and Read was at Memorial Academy, junior
Memorial
high,
Academy. And
yeah,
and after Memorial,
in San Diego.
in high school, did you
Yeah, I just went over to
have
San
more of
Diego
it?
High,
Yeah.
by Balboa Park.
Okay.
And again, there was no chess club. It was just me and this one guy in particular, my friend Nate, who was into the game as well. And we both rode the bus together, so we had lived in the same neighborhood as well, so we could play when we were not at school, which helped. But there was pretty much nobody else. There were other kids that knew how to play, but since there was no like after school activities going on, we had to catch the bus. There was no real time to play them unless we happened to grab them at like lunch or something like that. And at that time, we had played so many hundreds of games against each other. We were, kind of hardcore for the rank and file. So there was no real point in playing anybody else. So it kind of became just a one-man rivalry because he was the only guy who could challenge me, and vice versa. But it started to turn into a little bit of a problem because our styles started to get locked into each other. So we got good at like playing each other instead of playing the game. And it would kind of throw me a little bit when I would play somebody else, because I kind of unconsciously assuming they would do something and they would not. They would make another good move that Nate would never have made. So it's interesting that even though technically it seems like there should be one best move in any given position, and that's the way the computers that play it these days try to look at it, personality and style really does come through.
So when did you start or like venturing out to play against other people, since you're saying your guy was the only one for that long time to be playing against? Was it in high school or was it in college during that time?
Well, there is a San Diego chess club, like municipally, that's in Balboa Park, which is just a couple miles from the high school. So I went up there a time or two to play in the larger, kind of pool. But I didn't have any wheels at the time, and it was, because we were getting bussed in, it was a pretty good distance from the schools. So I had to take the school bus back to my house and then the city bus back to, the chess club to play. And it didn't wind up happening too much. So when I got to college, though, I went up to the Bay Area, and San Francisco and just Northern California generally has got a pretty big booming chess scene. I noticed it because I was hanging out at all the cafes on campus, and there would be people there'd just be like chessboards. There'd be like a whole section of the cafe given over to people just banging down pieces and trash talking, you know, kind of like the Fishburne character in Searching for Bobby Fischer. I was like, whoa, because you know that like chess is historically, yeah, you know, you go to the Café de la Régence in Paris or something like that and throw down, but these days not so much. I never saw it in San Diego, but in Berkeley it was like that. So I through hanging out with those guys, I found out there was a lot of tournaments going on across the bay in San Francisco. So I took Bart over there one day and just entered myself in the unrated section.
Yeah.
And the thing is, chess has ratings because they try to get good matchups, because there really is like differences depending on how long people have been playing. You know, you can actually be pretty good, but like to be tournament good, that's way past the level where you like dominate the family reunion. You know, so they got this whole complicated mathematical system to assign a number to your skill, and it starts down, you know, basically at 0. I don't think technically it goes that far, but a beginner would probably be around, you know, 100 or something. And
but
then,
how do you get that? Is that like you got to enter a bunch of tournaments like the USTA, like for tennis, and then like they see you?
That's exactly it. Yeah, you need to play people who have ratings, and then they look at your results against the ratings of the people you played and feed that through the formula and try and peg what your rating is. Basically, if you win a game against somebody when you're just starting out, they assume that your rating is 400 points higher. Like, if you lose, they assume that your rating is 400 points below, because they basically assume that whatever happened was not fluky. It was going to happen. And a draw, of course, they assign you their same rating. But they don't do it after just one game. You have to play like 20 people, and then they'll take the average of all those people to try and find out where you are.
That's interesting. And you know, we had a couple of people here in the live chat. We had one, David Achilles. I'm sorry. Looking forward to this great idea, getting Josh on HBTV. So he's joining us, and he'll be on. And if anybody is on the chat
from his ice fishing ranch.
Yes. If anybody on the chat has a question they would love to ask Josh, I'm looking at the live chat here, and I'll field some questions for you guys and ask Josh a question. So going to that, you just mentioned you entered a non-rated tournament, right? Unrated tournament.
Yeah, right.
How was that? Did you get smoked, or did you smoke the competition? And how many rounds did you have to play?
It was a 5-round tournament. A lot of tournaments in the U.S. are like that because they try and do them just over the weekends. It's not like anybody's going to take off for work necessarily to do this. You know, because if you win the thing outright, you know, for the small tournaments, you only get a few $100, and it's like, well, you know, that's not enough compensation. So I went over there, and they'll play a couple of games a day on each weekend day, and maybe one Friday night or something. So I actually won the first game or two, and I was like, okay, look at me, I'm the guy, and that they weren't ready for me. But the way it mattered is like, you know, the winners play winners and the losers play losers. Okay. So I started playing the other dudes, you know, who were also like 2-0, and then they started, you know, if I did something a little loose, or I started, you know, just trying to, you know, hang my pieces out there, like I said, to try and do something flashy to get them, they just blocked it and then took me down. So I think, I lost the ones after that. I finished that tournament like 2-3 or something. So that was like a reality check. Like, oh, you know, I'm pretty good in the small pool, but overall, nope, I'm not there yet.
Setting these traps, huh? You were setting these traps, try to bait them. They're like, nah, Powell. I see that a mile away. You ain't getting
Pretty
me.
much, part of the skill with it, and I think it's probably that same way in some of the stuff you do, or like boxing or other,
Mm-hmm.
activities that people are in. A lot of getting better is about like D. You got to be able to play defense. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
go out there and just start, just throwing haymakers, or you're going to get tagged. It's all about not getting hit and looking for your spot. You know.
Yeah, that's totally true, man. And yeah, you just in all the sports you hear about in a couple sports, especially boxing, like you said, setting those traps and trying to get it. So you dangled your pieces out there. You try to have them bite to see what they're gonna do, but they're like, nope,
And they were just
not.
like, nope. And then I was all like screwed up and out of position. And
Yeah,
when they came at me, I couldn't fend them off. So I mean, it was rough. It definitely hurt my ego at like
yeah.
17, 18 years old, because all the kids, pretty much any of the sport, I was thinking, well, maybe we have found Bobby Fischer, and
Mm-hmm.
it's me.
It's,
But
search no more, man. It's
no such
JP.
luck, right? It's
Yeah.
like the kid who's like just thrashing people at the Y is thinking that he just might be the next Mike Tyson.
Absolutely,
But
we found him.
the loss taught me. Yeah, it's there's some saying that the Grandmaster has more games to play. I think uh, that's very true, man. There's no easy way through it. I mean, even if you are some kind of a genius, that just means you got to take your lumps at a higher level. You know what I mean? Everybody's getting their ass kicked by somebody, especially now. The computers are better than any human these days. So that door is closed. The
Yeah,
best chess player
I
on earth.
hate that Yahoo chess. It always beats me. I'm telling you right now. Pisses
Yeah,
me off. So,
yeah.
did you ever move to like rated tournaments? Have you ever been rated, and what is, if you have, and if
Oh yeah,
you've done
yeah.
that,
So
what's your
after I
current
played a
rating
few
now?
of those, uh, it's somewhere around 1900 ish.
Hmm.
If you're, I mean, to the scale, it's like if you're in the triple digits, you're kind of a beginner, and then after you get up into 1,000 or so, you start to get a little respect. You know what's going on, and then if you can get your rating up over 2,000, that's when you start getting titles like expert and master and whatnot. And the grandmaster, you've got to be like 2,500 and up. So that kind of shows you where I'm at in the hierarchy. But on the other hand, it tails off at the end. There practically is nobody really who's like 2,000 or up. I'm like in the 98th percentile or something, and I'm not any level of master. So it just goes to show it gets to be pretty rare air pretty quick.
You mentioned um the Search for Bobby Fischer movie,
Yeah.
and Furious Styles was in the park, right? Furious Styles.
Yeah.
He was in the park, and you're saying he's talking a lot of mess. So I've actually walked in downtown San Francisco with my guys,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to check out one of the chess playing areas there, and whatever you want to call it, hustlers, guys
Yeah.
there who, I'm some of them, maybe, I don't know, maybe like homeless, you know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
were there, and they bring out the chessboard as like a vinyl, flimsy vinyl type thing, and they
Yeah.
and they bring it up.
Yeah. I've got one of those too. Those are like the travel boards. In the U.S., the tournaments don't normally supply the boards, and it's a hassle carrying.
Hmm.
Some boards fold in half, but it's still pretty bulky. But like a full-on chessboard, unless it's tiny, so
Yeah.
everybody just gets the roll-up boards.
So what I mean in that movie, they talk about it as well, and and just to give you an example, as far as music, I'm not a trained musician. I don't know how to read notes, but when I play, it's more of the feeling here inside me, and I play, and I know a few chords, and I do it. But in that movie as well, and I just wanted to get your thought about it as far as that style of playing, the quick action, the quick hits, the quick attacks,
Yeah.
versus what you were doing or what you have experienced in those rated tournaments. Do you have an idea of that? Like, what do you feel about I guess there are two different types of playing styles and tournament styles.
Yeah, at least. I mean, that in the broadest scale, that there is like the kind of street or park chess, and then there's like the tournament hall
Mm-hmm.
chess. And the main difference is the time, because everybody knows, if they've seen the movies or Queen's Gambit or something like that, if you're playing competitive chess, there's always a clock involved. That's rarely the case when you're just playing a casual game, because nobody's thinking about it too long. But if you're like totally into it, it's easy to just go down the rabbit hole and sit there and be thinking about something for like half an hour at a time. And it's like, look, man, I don't have all day for this game. So in tournament chess, they will usually, they've got those little two-sided clocks. It's like a little box with a little clock face, and now it's a little digital readout on each side. And when you make your move, you tap the button on your side, and it stops your clock and starts theirs. And then, vice versa. So somebody's clock is always running. And in like classical chess, usually each side will get probably a couple hours, like each, for the game. So the games can be pretty long. And if you do have to go into a deep think because something is crazy, you have the time to do it. Although you have to be kind of strategic about how you apportion it, because if you're thinking too long, too early, you're going to get in one of these clock slapping scrambles at the end of the game, and you're more likely to screw up, But whereas in the park, or if you've been Powell Street, actually, ironically,
Yep.
is where I used to play in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, straight up hustlers. Like they'll play blitz, where they give each side just 5 minutes, so the game is over fast. And usually they'll want to go faster than that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try and get it down to 3 or 2, or they've got a bullet chess is what they call it, when it's just a minute per side. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't actually like blitz too much, but bullet I just hate, because it's about who can like physically move faster. You're really playing clock, not chess. And it reduces everybody back to a beginner again. But on the other hand, if you've got that kind of tricksy style, and you're hustling, basically, you can plow through a lot of people quick, because you can beat even much better players if you're just kind of aware and like snappy.
Can either side, can the guy that plays on Powell go into a rated or unrated tournament, or can that rated guy or girl come to Powell Street and be successful in the two different arenas?
I mean, potentially it would be difficult, because you would need to be aware that you're almost playing two different games. Because what happens to the classical types, like what happened to me, is it's too much of a habit. They'll make a move, and I'll sit there and pause and think about it for even 10 seconds before I realize, like, what am I doing? And it's like, well, what's 10 seconds? Well, at that speed, you're already like lost. You're going to lose on time no matter what happens at that point. All they have to do is shift pieces around. So that gets annoying. So I would get like hammered in that format. But then, like, somebody who's good at that style of chess, it'll feel real roomy in the tournament hall time wise, but they have a tendency to not adjust. And it's like the other person will be taking their time, and they'll still slap something down in like 30 seconds max. And it's like, no, man, you should have thought that through. They tend to have like glass jaws in a tactical setting, because if you have time to think about what they just did, then it's flawed.
I see. Wow. That's interesting, man. To look at it both on both sides like that. So again, you guys are watching HBTV, the show with your host Harry Bugarin, and my special guest tonight is Mr. Joshua Powell, talking his passion, his journey with the game of chess. We have one David Achilles has a question for Josh. All right, so he says, glad you brought up searching for Bobby Fischer. Josh W. ended up transforming his chess talents into an esoteric push hands martial art. I don't know if you're familiar with that. David asks, have you ever been drawn to a physical manifestation of your chess playing? And if so, what form did or would it take?
That's a good question, David. I know that he knows a bit about the game himself because I happened to be mentioning it. Maybe I was talking to you, and he said something about Capablanca, who was one of the great champions back in the 20s and 30s. Some consider him, he was Cuban, one of the best natural players to ever live. He didn't study it much. He was I mean, sometimes when you got it, you got it. But he's the kid in that in Searching for Bobby Fischer movie, Josh Waitzkin. His dad was a journalist, and so he wrote that book to reflect, his experiences being a parent of a prodigy, because you get into your whole little world. Who was that? Joe Montana or somebody? That was who that was. But after Waitzkin was not the next Bobby, which is not necessarily bad, because as the book makes clear, there's price, right? Payoffs. If you know much about Fischer, I mean, being a champ is great, but you wouldn't want to be that dude. He had a rough life internally and externally, and Josh was good enough to be a master, but he was never good enough to make it even to grandmaster, much less champion. And he split and was kind of not seen again for a long time. And then he took up a form of wushu, and he turned out to be at least as good at that as he was at chess. He won some kind of a major championship for it. And I found out about that years later because he wrote a book called The Art of Learning, which I looked at because I thought it was interesting. A lot of people think that he's like not one of anybody's chess heroes. He never got good enough. He's famous because he was in that movie. People think, wow, what would happen if Josh Waitzkin played like Kasparov or the champ? And the answer is he would get hammered. Wow. But it's crazy to be so near the top at two different things. And he thinks that he didn't actually have a talent for chess per se, or Kung Fu. He thinks that his approach to how he learns something is actually what distinguishes him, and that's why he was able to get so good at two like just wildly divergent interests. So pretty interesting book. I read it. It's pretty good, but no, I don't know. I mean, I tend to compare chess to a lot of physical pursuits. Like I've drawn some boxing metaphors or even golf or things like that. It just strikes me like, oh, this is kind of like that. Like I knew a dude who was like near pro level at golf, and he used to swear up and down that he just started on a putting green. He sees all these people hanging out at the driving range, just banging ball after ball down the fairway. And it's like, look, man, your full swing with the driver is only a very small part of the game. You got to get down here in the weeds and like chip it on, like Phil Mickelson. You got to learn it backwards. And a lot of people say grandmasters will tell you actually it's best to learn the in game first, where there's very few pieces there and you can kind of get the intricacies and then work your way back to the beginning. But just as in chess, everybody's like, oh, I'm playing, the Ruy Lopez or the King's Gambit or something. It's kind of sexy and neat to think that you're playing, something that has 100-year-old history, but it's not about the openings. It's about the unglamorous stuff at the end that matters.
Wow. Interesting. And thank you again for that question, David. So just really quick, just a couple more questions before our time is coming to an end for the interview. As far as for somebody getting into it, beginning, because I can totally see, I mean, even for myself, is how frustrating this game can be as far as a beginner, right?
Yeah.
What, not divulging your strategy or what your game is, but as far as like, for somebody in the beginning, right? Beginning stages, whether it could be a young adult, an adult, elementary school kids or whoever,
Yeah.
like what do you suggest as far as like the approach getting into the game itself and kind of keeping that interest? Because like I said, there's been times, um, I got into something and got difficult, either a kid or as an adult. It's like, oh man, I ain't doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
but
We
what
all
do you
have, I
what do
think.
you suggest as far as for somebody getting into this? Um, Parents just got them some chess online
Right.
chess workshops to be working with their grandmaster, and what would you say?
Well, it's different now than it was when we were kids, because at that time, it would have been about finding them a group to play with. You got to find where the chess club was, and bring them there, and let them kind of hover over their shoulder like they're while they're playing with the adults, or ideally there'll be something going on at the school, and that could still happen, of course, but it's not necessary. And especially now, in the age of COVID, while we're winding this down, hopefully that'll clear up this year. Uh, Most of the activity in the game is going on online. There's a whole
Mm-hmm.
bunch of websites that are devoted to it, and it's nice because you can declare yourself, like you log on, you establish an account, and which is free, and you just say I'm ready for a game, and you decide what the time controls are. If you want to play some 5 minute or 1 minute chess, and a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
do, especially online, because it's kind of more exciting and you can crank out like 10 games real fast, then you can do that. But on the other hand, if you want to play like serious hour or two, if you've got some time, so you know what I mean, you like kind of set the clock. So I recommend that people jump onto one of the websites. The simplest one is just chess.com. I play there quite a bit, and they've
Mm-hmm.
even got a little sub area called Chess Kid, which has a lot of instructional stuff and animated pieces and things like that, and videos and things, because that's how kids you want to learn these days. And just jump on and play. Don't worry about your rating or anything like that. They've got problems and things like that on there. I do think, as I was saying in the beginning, problems and just getting the point of how the pieces move, like if it's made and won in a real simple situation, and like you'll know what I'm talking about when I say, like, say you've got a king on the back rank and it's hemmed in by its own pawns, and you've got a rook, and you can slide it down there to the back rank, and that's mate, right? Because it can't get away. That's the kind of thing, if you're like a very beginning kid, they can get that, like 5, 6 years old. They understand, they don't have to worry about all the different weights and interactions. But just jump online these days, I would say. Get on there and play against other kids, or look at instructional videos, or do some problems, and just have a good time. Be sure to give yourself a break, because as you said, Harry, it's a frustrating game, and everybody kind of has the feeling when they lose a chess game, not so much that they got beat, but that they lost. Like you just threw it away by doing something foolish, or at least that's the way it feels to me. So just relax, and if you do need to step away, then by all means do it. Even me, I haven't been playing continually this whole time. I'll leave the game for months, or even years at a time, and then eventually I'll be like, it's kind of like an old friend. You come back to it and see how it feels now.
Yeah, I would, if I lost like that in those terms, I'd probably stand up and tip that whole table over and be
Yeah,
like,
just
"Yeah." But so, just really quick, just a couple more questions, probably a two-part question. But um, what inspires you to keep playing, and also like how has chess really changed your life in any way?
yeah. It's just sort of familiarity and comfort. As you get older, you start to have these through themes in your life that have always been there, but you appreciate them in a different way at different stages. And for me, chess is one of those things, because I can remember reading a book, or having a difficulty with a concept, or admiring a player when I was in my teens, versus how it felt when I was in my 20s, versus how it feels now. So it's just kind of always there, and it's a nice way to break to break the ice. You know, you can talk chess with people or play them. That's the good thing about being online. Now you're not playing people from your town. You can be playing somebody from like Lithuania or Prague, you know, like real easy. And that's a nice aspect for it. So I think the main thing that chess has brought to my life is just a sort of consistency, you know. And I'm not a super social guy, but the other year I went out and I just wanted to take a vacation. And I didn't have any particular thoughts of where I wanted to go, so I wound up heading over to Eastern Europe and just jumping in a chess tournament they were having there on the train. And it's like I wasn't worried about winning the thing, you know, but the whole point is, you know, just kind of go on tour and share your interests and meet some people from Poland or wherever it may be. You know, it was real cool. The picture that you got for this interview, that dude is I met him. He's from Amsterdam. Real nice guy. We have since corresponded, and we've got some online going on right now.
Nice. So that's cool that chess has brought you, you know, on the other side of the world, and you guys had that, you know, you have that opportunity to do so, and that's cool. So, like, how far do you want to take this? Are you still, or are you on the hunt to get, you know, your ratings up, or even get into that grand master level? Like, how far do you want to take this?
I mean, kind of. I'm less going after that stuff now than I was when I was younger, because it's sort of an ego trip, you know, like chess has got such grand titles, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I'm an international master, like officially, you know. You know, kids are always looking for ways to kind of prove themselves and see where they stand. But then after a certain point, your perspective just changes, and you're kind of doing it just for the intrinsic, you know, love and understanding of the thing. I'm not worried about what my rating is anymore. I'm trying to understand it at a deeper level, and if I can manage that, then my rating will go up. But that's not the main thing, and not the titles or anything like that anymore. You know, when people wonder actually how late can you get like the master and grandmaster title, you know, because time is not on anyone's side. You know, everybody tries to, you've got time demands and the whole old dog new tricks factor. So we'll see. If it happens, it happens. I'm not going to give up the journey, but I'm not too worried about like the external markers.
Yeah. Well, I'm rooting for you, brother, to be that grand Jedi master of the
right?
chess world.
just a long beard.
you are you open to like either teach people or even like get a casual game like on a Zoom thing like that? You ever thought about doing that stuff?
I guess I would be willing to, but you know, there's actually a lot of people out there, especially now, who are willing to do that kind of thing. Like I was saying, if you go onto the websites, they've got areas where it's just like, hey, I am, you know, such and such a master from some economically depressed country, and I'm willing to teach your 8-year-old for low prices. And I'm just like, dang, you know, I'm like, they're so good, but it's kind of like when people come over here with their MD from somewhere and they gotta, you know, work their way back up. It's just like that. So that's what I would recommend that you do, but be careful, because it's not just raw ability. Teaching is it's like its own skill, and just trying to hook your kid up with the grandmaster just because they're 25, 63 or whatever is not the way to go. You can have some 1800 player, if they can get their point across, that is much better for them the first year or two of their journey. So if people want to jump on and play me, I am on chess.com. I have my account name there is Three Sailors Gambit, so they can just look me up, and like there's, you know, they can search me out and send me a challenge. I will accept it, and we'll play a little bit. I'd love to cross swords with some of your viewership. I just hope I don't disappoint if they catch me napping.
No worries. I'll get your I'll get your call sign and put that in the description as well. So whoever views the episode can go into the description, and I'll let them know where they can challenge and find you. I will
All right.
I will challenge you, and I will bring my Star Trek 3-level chessboard to the.
I
to
have
the
played
meeting.
that, man. I played on that sucker, and I mated the dude, and he's like, "Wait, I forgot on this situation you can move to the next level." I was like, "Hold on."
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, man. This ain't the Kobayashi Maru. This is the freaking
Exactly.
This is just the 3-level chess. But hey, Josh,
You got to
man,
get your munchkins on there, Harry. You got to get the little Bugarins going. We need some more female grandmasters.
You're right, man, and you know what? Maybe I'll have them make their burner accounts and hit up the Three Sailors Gambit and be like,
yeah,
let's get into a
and then when
game,
they're
Mister.
champions, they can just disavow. They'll be like, "No, that wasn't me."
Hey, Josh, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight and taking some time with us. It's always great to talk to you, and it's I've asked you for years about getting on a show. I remember I was asking you before I even did this. I was like, hey man, I want to record you. Just want to interview you about your journey about chess. But finally we get a chance, right? We have this platform here, and thank you for sharing your message and your love and passion for the game. And like I said, anything that I can do to support you and help you, especially, I'll do the ring walk with you to get that grandmaster, title out there.
Right.
I'll
rub my
hold the
shoulders
belt.
and everything.
Yeah, I'll hold the belt.
Take my mouthpiece out.
We'll go ahead and do that. But hey, man, you have a good night and you stay safe out there, man, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you again for joining us here on HBTV.
Right on, brother. Thanks for having me join you. I enjoyed it.
All right, man. You take care. Have a good night, bro. Well, that was our special guest tonight, Mr. Joshua Powell. And he was talking about chess. Great guy, and love to hear about his journey and what he did. So thank you guys who was able to join us tonight and just chill with us with Joshua Powell tonight and him talking about the game of chess. So again, this is HBTV, the show. My name is Harry Bugarin. And again, if you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell for any alerts when HBTV is on. I'll be on again next week at 6 p.m. and hope to see you guys there. Have a good night, stay blessed, and stay safe.